Oh, hello there. Welcome to my new series called Stitch and Bitch, where I stitch, you can also stitch, and I bitch about something in crocheting that I have either recently learned or that I find annoying or just weird in general. So I'm starting a new project right now, so you can stitch along with me while I talk here. I'm starting a new project, and that got me thinking today about gauge squares. So if you're not familiar, gauge squares are these little things here, right? So normally I hate them, and to be honest, don't always do them. So I wanted to talk about today, why are they important? Why should we do them? When can we get away with not doing them? So today I am making a super cute baby romper, and I'll put a picture in here maybe, and I'll put the link in the description below of where you can get the pattern, because it's the cutest little romper that I got from a shop on Etsy. So super important when we're making clothes to make sure that you're making the right size. So depending on how tight you stitch, what yarn you're stitching with, what needles or hooks you're stitching with, makes a difference in how tight the stitches are and the size of your finished product. So this pattern calls for a size 3 yarn and a size 3 hook, but I am using this really beautiful yarn from Cascade Yarns, which is this 220 superwash wool. So it's 100% superwash wool. Really pretty color. This one, does it tell me what color it's called? Color 902. Very exciting. So it's this really pretty like lilac dusty rose color. So it's gonna make a super cute little girl's romper. And I'm working on pieces for my state fair, so I have to have one that is wool and one that's acrylic. So this is going to be my one that is just wool, since this is 100% wool. So it's super pretty yarn, super pretty color. So I wanted to use this one, but it's a size 4 weight. So you have like 2 options with that, depending on what your gauge is going to be. You can either use the size 3 needle with the size 4 yarn, it'll just be tighter stitches, or you can use the size 4 hook, which is what they recommend, which if you're super new to crocheting and have not done a lot with yarn, you can see in this yarn it tells you here all of the different hooks. Oh, and there's my price tag. And then you have on the back where it says the size 4. So they recommend a size 4 hook with this, so that's what I started with, just to make sure that it was as like uniform as possible and the right tension for this kind of yarn. I don't know. Also because I'm a rule follower and they told me to use a size 4 hook, so we're going to start there. So my pattern calls for the gauge should be 17 stitches and 9 rows in double crochet, should measure 10 by 10 centimeters or 4 by 4 inches. So that's in the first page of the pattern. Will tell you based on how the person who wrote the pattern stitched it and the measurements for the size of the clothes and everything, what your gauge should be in stitches. And so it is usually in the kind of stitches that are most prevalent in the pattern. It might be single crochet, it might be double crochet, depends just on the pattern. So this one is double crochet. So I have my little gauge square here, and I did not bother to sew my ends in because it doesn't really matter. So this is my little gauge square. So it came out right to 4 by 4 inches with my size 4 yarn and size 4 hook. So that was fortuitous that I did not need to do it again. But if it would have been too big, then I would have tried my size. I think I have a 3.25 hook and not a 3, but you know, semantics. So I would have tried that and saw where it ended up and then adjusted from there. So when I make amigurumis and stuff like that, I truthfully don't ever do a gauge square because it really doesn't matter, right? Like worst case, your end product will be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, but for things like that, there's very few circumstances where it really needs to be like exactly the right size. And even when I do like bandanas and hair ties, like I kind of wing it a little bit because it's just not worth the time and effort. But for something like clothes, especially baby clothes where there's not like a ton of margin of error, like in adult clothes, you know, like if it's like an inch off, it's, you know, close enough and it'll fit. But for like a baby, an inch off is the difference between like 18 to 24 month and, you know, 12 to 18 or whatever it might be. So you really want it to be like as close to the correct gauge as possible. So I made my little gauge square, and now we know that I'll be kind of on track to be the right size for the pattern based on how many stitches I'm doing. So that's all about gauge squares. Yes, they're helpful sometimes. Also, they're a giant pain in the ass. So, pros and cons. It's important to weigh whether your project would benefit from being the exact correct gauge or whether you can get away with it being fudged a little bit. So, that is my take on gauge squares. If there's anything that you would like me to discuss in the next Stitch and Bitch, please feel free to let me know. Comment below. Comment below your take on gauge squares. And oh, this is Lilybell. She's the biggest diva in the world, obviously. Don't mind her. So if you have any things that you would like stitched and bitched in the future, please let me know. Comment below. I've got a few more things that I've learned recently about crocheting that I will be bringing to y'all. So, Lilybell says goodnight, and I will see y'all soon.